Hello there, friends. Today's March 19th, 2024, and today we're taking a look at this Caleb Williams Early Risers from the 2023 Bowman Chrome University set. It's card number ER-1. Now, we did put together 15 recent comps, and we'll establish what I believe this card is worth, as well as put together some first, second, third offer sheets as well. Also, we're looking at this in the raw format, not a PSA grade, so keep in mind that the quality of the card that you find is vitally important. So just because we find an average doesn't mean that that average applies to everything equally. You always need to make sure you're hunting out the best card you can find. And that's why I always encourage you to shop in person, because when you can look at the card in person, you can make sure that those edges aren't soft, those corners are sharp, and that surface is perfect. That's what I'd recommend doing with these numbers if you do choose to use them. Now, as you can see through the graph, a little bit of insanity going on. Somebody paid $10 for this card, which surprised me. What was even more surprising is they didn't just do that, they also paid an extra almost $5.50 in shipping. Youch, right? Beyond that, we're sticking pretty close to that $1.99 to $3 range pretty consistently. And we'll have to see what the numbers pan out for us down below here. On the top right-hand side, you see that there's been 113 submissions to PSA. 83 have come back at a PSA 10. That's a 73.45% return rate of a PSA 10, which means people are hunting them down perfect, and they're also submitting them. But this is a unique card because you know that he's going to be drafted very highly within the upcoming draft. Well, at least that's what everybody is predicting, okay? I'll just say that. You would think he's going to be drafted very highly. So if you have this card and you submit it to PSA, is there any harm in, taking the slow grading option? I mean, do you really need to expedite that grading option right now? Because you know that in, a month and a half or so, there's going to be a lot more talk about him. Not that there's not a lot of talk right now, but he'll actually be drafted. He'll actually be some anticipation as to what he's going to be doing next year. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually taking a close look at this card, even at this low of a price point. But I digress. Let's talk about numbers. $3.73. This blue number is the average bid price paid in order to win one of these cards at auction. And I always like to only consider auction because I like to see that bid happen, that supply and demand process happen. We're not sitting there doing a buy it now. We're not looking at best offers, just what people are hunting after and going and fighting for together. So $3.73 on average gets you a winning bid. $2.03 is your average shipping. $5.76 is your total out the door. Now, to the right of this, we have what I would consider to be fair market value because this $2.94 represents what a seller is actually taking home after they pay their 13 to 15% in fees. So $2.94 is what I value this card at. To the right of that, we've got a stoplight system, green, yellow, red. Green is my first offer. It's a 70% offer of the blue number. That comes to $2.61. Yellow is a second offer. That's a 75% offer of, again, the blue number, $2.80. And red is usually my final offer, $2.98. However, I like to make sure that I'm always getting in the bottom third of sales when I'm purchasing a card such as this. So I sort this card ascending and drop down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts me at $1.65, which uniquely enough is significantly lower than even my first 70% offer. This is why I sort this column ascending. Clearly, these numbers, the higher ones, the 999s, the 9, the 750, they have skewed these numbers significantly to the point where my 75% offer doesn't make any sense. Okay? So, because of that, I will say this, and since we're approaching the draft, and there certainly is going to be some interest, I'm going to be doing a hard stop at $2.80, especially if it's a perfect card. I'm not going to approach that $2.98 because I know I can get probably multiple cards at under $2.80 at this point in time. In order to sell in the top third, which again might not be relevant just because they have had those few that just sort of threw everything out of whack, normally I would go 5 from the bottom of here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and $2.52 gets me into the top third of sales. Now, that number is lower than what I would be willing to pay right now, right? But this might just be a game that I have to play, especially considering that we've got the draft right around the corner. Probably not going to sell it for that much. Definitely not going to, especially if I have a perfect one. I might be considering actually getting it graded. That's crazy. I know it is crazy, but if you've got the time, you never know. And if it's a perfect one at a 73% clip, it's intriguing to say the least. I'm not saying you should do this because it's more of a game in this regard, but yeah, I think that's where I value it at. I'd love to stay within that bottom third at $1.65 all day long, but I'm going to bet that I'm going to have a little harder time getting my hands on this card at that price point without fighting off too many people. That's it. Take care, my friends.